for a while, and he gave me one of those puppy dog looks, and he says, they really did not understand us. And he said, what they did not understand is how we lied to each other and ourselves, because lying is an illogical thing to do. Now, I'm explaining this so you'll understand the rest of this with the Carter administration. He said they took everything very much at face value, even including when people would say that they were having contacts with some extraterrestrials. They were not allowed to look into people. They can very easily. And it was then necessitated, after things were going badly in some areas, that they were allowed to check a little more deeply into things and people. And they said this is beyond our understanding how people are lying to themselves and each other. Now, why is it said that that's illogical?
Wait, what is illogical?
Lying. Lying
okay, got it. Okay.
Illogical. And the reason, I'll try and condense it this way. When one lies, one does not change the facts. One simply delays and compounds the negative consequence of denying the truth. If you are, I could use the analogy and say, well, if you're a space-traveling race and someone says, oh, I know how to get us to Alpha Centauri, and they're lying, well, goodbye. You're never going to see those people again. But if you've got a guy who marches to the cockpit in a 747 and says, I know how to fly this, I'm the captain, I'm taking you so-and-so. And if he's lying, you've lost a lot of people. So the idea is that telling the truth is a positively selfish act that...
Selfish or selfless?
No, both. Selfish in the sense that you do not put yourself through unnecessary pain and grief or in others by lying. See, if I lie, if I'm fabricating stories, I'm ultimately, because of the laws of cause and effect, the pendulum is still going to come back. It's just going to come back with a lot more baggage on it, and I'm going to have to deal with it sooner or later. I'm going to have to keep tap dancing and lying and compounding, and my compounding of lies is going to only produce more grief for others as well, such as happens, look back on certain administrations and wars.
Let's talk about the Carter administration. I'm going to reel you back.
Yes. So what happened was, in 1979, through some discussion with the original investigators talking to Billy and Billy talking to Clay Aaron, they said, okay, we will make an overture to the Carter administration. And they basically gave Billy information that he put into a letter form that was translated into English a little awkwardly, but it survived in English. It was given to the investigative team, and they brought it because they had the connections to the Carter administration, which in short order turned it down. And quite frankly, it was 100% understandable why they did. And here's the reason. And that letter is somewhere on my website, and it is findable, and I can always...
Why did you want to talk about the Carter administration?
Because I wanted to show that we're not dealing with gods and infallible human beings or anything else. Because what they did in their factual, logical, matter-of-fact ways, they said, we will initiate contacts with the American administration under the following conditions. Number one, our ships are not to be molested or approached or anything like that. Number two, Billy Meier, the Swiss man, will be our go-between and representative between us and the Carter administration to conduct this interaction. Number three, in order for us to have this interaction with you, you will need to inform your populace that your religions are basically full of delusion, lies, and fantasies, and that things like the Jim Jones Guyana event are directly tied to religious and political manipulations and things like. Well, that one hit the round file pretty quick.
I think it would in most circles, not just in political circles, but
I mean,
saying, they don't know this guy, Billy Meier.
Well, it isn't even that. I think it was far more because, look, Jimmy Carter, Baptist president, is not going to come to the American people and say, listen, folks, we're going to be able to we're starting some interactions with an extraterrestrial human race, and they wanted me to tell you that all of your religious beliefs are lies, fantasies, and delusions. Now, we're, can you just see all the bullets flying on that one?
I have to tell you that when you talk about what you're talking about, the way you're talking about religions, the part that bothers me is not the message, but there's like a laughter at it. There's many wonderful, sacred books that are so sacred and so ancient and so wonderful and are so helpful to people.
Well, I wasn't laughing there. I was relaying.
In the way in which you're relaying it. And I think part of it is you've probably known this information for a long time.
No, I want to cop to this and say to you that the reason I said it that way is because it is so absurd that that information that may have been, for them, factually, unemotionally stated, the religions are false, they have the lies and delusion, that you're not going to see anybody, and certainly not a Baptist, believing Baptist president, come to the American people and toss that one out in any way, shape, or form.
This is me, okay? Who knows what the audience is going to think, and everybody has their own processes. So I don't think that there is all good extraterrestrial telepathy, extraterrestrial presence, extraterrestrial intent. And therefore, not everything that is being communicated to who we're referring to as Billy Meier, to me, is all on the up and up. I'm not sure that every single ET that we're describing, that you're describing, has been for the greater good of humanity. I'm not sure about that, including going to the President of the United States to ask for all of these things to be done that you just said. I think that is an ill-intended extraterrestrial, ill-intended, who has no concern for the population, to be working through and with Billy Meier. So that may have been one of the groups that was foul, but that's a foul group that would do that,
well,
even at an
I'll
ET
tell you
level.
A perspective on that is this. Having read these transcripts, and I mean thousands of pages over 31 years, one thing that's very detectable and even stated is that the people speak from their perspective of what is so and what is not so, as opposed to opinion and belief. And I know that this will sounds a little like, well, nah, but this is the way they express things as they know it to be.
It's not even a question, are they wrong? What I'm challenging you about right now is that in this example that you are translating of how they had recommended going to the president and what the deal was in order to get communication and some type of cooperation is absurd. And to have an extraterrestrial race just be like downloading that, to me, absolutely has no concern for humanity. These groups are a disconnect, and I will bet you, as good as you and I are both alive and talking right now, that the benevolent ET cultures, like any other culture, if we're referring to that, would never require that all of civilization have a freak out, be introduced that information from a president, just like that.
Well, let's go over to another department of thinking here this way. Let's find out if we can. Well, no, we can't find that out, but let's just say I'm more interested, just from where I come from, like we're different people, we approach things differently, some things the same.
I've been on, by the way, a 25-year mission to assist this planet and this civilization, and I'm not just a radio show host. So who's talking to you, who's having the conversation with you is not a radio show host. I am a global communications steward, and I am here to help humanity at this time in history. That's why I was brought to this earth. That's why I came into my lifetime.
Well, I don't doubt it for a second, or I don't think we'd be having even this kind of a conversation. And I think, to be perfectly blunt with you, I've been interviewed on Coast to Coast like 13 times. Nobody, with the exception of one time that Art Bell interviewed me like for 4 hours, nobody's willing really to get into the hard questions. And it's like preaching to the choir. I mean, I don't mind doing those kinds of shows. That's nice. But let's deal with things that upset us. I think it's far more valuable because there is a perspective I have on this from having looked at it for as long as I've looked at it. Yes. And having gone through my own reaction, if you remember early in the conversation, I thought, oh, is this anti-Semitic material? Is this anti-Christian material? That was the first thing that was coming my way in the 80s when I was reading certain transcripts. And that's what drove me to go and open, our Bibles and to look and to start to research around to try to figure out, well, what is it? Could this be true? Could that? All right, so here's my point. Right now, objectively, truthfully, apart from however we feel about something, we don't know factually, or we're not going to agree that factually, religions are good, religions are bad, religions are in between. We could say, okay, we could feel it's this. But